Welcome to our teen and tween craft time and sewing time. I'm Miss Carla and I work for the St. Johns County Public Library System. Today we are going to be making a fleece hat. It looks like this and we have a little flower decoration on it. So if you got a kit from the library, what you're going to have is a rectangle of felt, and you're going to have two pieces or maybe just one piece, because some of these pieces I just folded them in half. So you either have one or two pieces of fleece, and then you're going to have a pattern to cut out the triangles that make your hat, and you're going to have a circle. Now if you need to buy some materials, you just need to know that you need about an 11 by 14 two pieces of 11 by 14 fleece, or it could just be, one folded in half. So that would be like 11 by 28 if you just fold it in half. You're going to need, in addition, you're going to need some thread and a hand sewing needle. You are going to need a ruler of some type and some pins, something to draw with, and you are going to need some scissors for cutting out everything. So let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut out my pattern piece here, which I really shouldn't be using my sewing scissors, but I'm going to do that this morning real quick. Just going to roughly cut that out. Okay. Now, one of the things when you are going to cut out your fleece is to notice that the way that this is, it stretches going that way. It doesn't stretch as much going this way. So if you have your fabric at home that you're cutting out, just remember that you want your triangles to be going across the stretchy side like this. You don't want to put it this way, because if you do that, your hat's not going to stretch over your head very well. So just keep that in mind. I chose to put my fuzzy side of the fleece on the outside of the hat instead of the smooth side, but you can do that however you want. The most important thing is just to make sure that your pattern piece is going across where it stretches. So I'm going to go ahead and pin this down. Actually, I'm going to move that. I'm going to put it that way. Make sure my pieces are nice and even. I've been stretching the one piece out, but that's okay. Need a whole lot of pieces. Now, one thing that I believe you should do is to go ahead and cut where you are going down the curves and come to the point instead of going from the point and going this way. I think it'll be a little bit more accurate. So here we go. I'm just going to cut around my pattern piece. I'm going to take my hand and kind of hold it down as I cut. I'm going to go like that. And then I'm going to go ahead. Now that I've done that, I'm going to go around. Sorry, I'm having a little bit of trouble. I've got holes in my tablecloth and I'm trying to make sure I don't cut my tablecloth. So that's the problem I'm having right now. It really should be held down as you're cutting like this, but my scissors were going to cut into that. So I'm just going to have to kind of deal with that. So I'll go ahead and take my pattern piece out. And what you're going to do is you're going to cut it out 2 more times, and I need 3 pieces for my first part. So here we go. So So like I said, if I didn't have this tablecloth, I would be holding it down on the table. All right, so I now have 6 triangles cut out, and I'm going to go ahead and pin a couple of those together. And again, I decided that I was going to put the fuzzy side on the outside, so I'm actually going to pin the fuzzy sides together to sew this. So I've got the smooth side on the outside right now, and I'll pin those. Okay, so I'm going to put that aside for now. I will need another piece later, and now we're going to go ahead and work on the flower. So for the flower, you're going to end up having 3 separate pieces, and I'm going to show you how we're going to do that. So I'm going to take my piece of felt, and I'm going to need 1 strip that is 1 inch wide. So I'm going to go ahead, and this is called a T-square, and it just helps you to be accurate and make a nice straight line, but you can use any ruler. I'm going to mark an inch here and 1 inch here. And then I'm going to take this and I'm going to draw a line here. So there's my inch. And just to speed things up a little bit, what I would do if you were at home is I would go ahead and cut that out and then measure 1.5 inches from here. But to speed this up, I'm going to go ahead and measure my 1.5 inches over here on the other side. So I can just cut those out. You could do it this way too. My T-square just helps me to get my edges lined up. So if you think I paid like $1/4 for this somewhere, but it's just a useful thing to have. So I'm going to go ahead and cut out on the inch. I'm going to go over here and cut out my strip that's 1.5 inches. And the last thing that I want to cut out is I want to cut out this 2-inch circle, which there is a 2-inch paper circle. You could pin it down and just cut it out around the circle, or you can draw the circle and cut out the circle, either way. So I'm just going to draw that circle, but you could just pin it down like you did the pattern piece. So there's my pieces, and then so to make the flower, I'm going to go ahead and I have a needle threaded here. Let's see, I had one that was pretty long. Oops. And I had one that wasn't, okay. So what you're going to do first, though, before we do that, is we are going to cut some scallops, which is going to give you a little bit of shape to the flower. So wherever you drew your lines, you might want to cut there, and that way any pencil lines will be gone. So as you can see, I'm just kind of drawing. It doesn't have to be a really big scallop. You're just, you don't want to cut a lot of your fleece off, so we're just being kind of sketchy. So as you can see, it's just kind of a little rough scallop there. And the next thing that I'm going to do is take my needle, and I'm going to start at one edge, and I actually had a lot of trouble with my needle coming through, but I'm having a little bit better luck this morning. If you have a lot of trouble with your needle going through this felt, because it is pretty thin felt, just go ahead and go back, make a back stitch through it, and that way, and then we're going to turn it back around and start our long stitches. This is just to gather it up. It's a gathering stitch. So I'm just taking really, really big stitches. And again, I did take that back stitch to hold it down, because I was having trouble when I was doing my practice pieces with it coming, with the thread coming out. So just taking really, really big stitches all down. Have you ever had something that has gathers in it? That's what we're doing. We're just making, I'm going to go all the way down. This is 12 inches long. So okay, so now I've gone down the full length, and as you can see, it's kind of gathered on its own, but I'm just going to pull this together. Okay, make my gathers go down. And just keep pulling this thread to make it go together, kind of at the end. Push it together. And this is kind of what you're going to end up with, is a flower. So once you get it gathered as tightly as you want it, then you're just gonna, I've got my ends together. I think that looks pretty good. I'm going to fold it over just a little bit, and then I'm just gonna put a few stitches. I'm gonna, there we go. Okay, that's good. So I'm gonna put a few stitches from one side to the other to hold it together, the ends of the flower. Okay. Go ahead and do the same thing on your 1-inch strip. You would go ahead and cut your scallops, and then you would take your thread and gather it up like that again. So the next thing I'm going to do is, I've got another thread and needle here, and I'm going to take my circle, and I'm going to go all around the circle. And let me see, is that thread going to hold? Okay, it's going to hold. If it doesn't, go ahead and take a back stitch like we did before. My stitches are going to be a little bit smaller on this, just because it's a smaller thing to gather. I'm going to kind of gather it a little bit as I go. So there's where I began, back to the beginning. I'm going to pull that thread through, and I'm going to pull it kind of tight, kind of work with it to get it in a circle shape a little bit. There we go. All right, so now I've kind of got it gathered. So to hold it, I'm going to make a stitch across one side of the circle and through, kind of making like a T, I guess, or yes, or a plus sign, so that I'm going through both sides to kind of keep it more in a circle shape. Take a few stitches. Okay. And then, knot that off, and there we go. So now I've got this little circle shape that will go to cover up the center of our flowers. So once you had all of those together, it would look like this. These that I've already done. We've got the 1.5 inch one and the inch one and this one, and it would go like that. So now I'll meet you over at the sewing machine, and we'll go ahead and make the hat part. So here we are at the sewing machine, and I'm making sure that my uptake lever is up at the top. And one of the things that I found with sewing this fleece is that it's best if you go ahead and manually lower your needle into your fleece before you start sewing. It just seems to work a lot better. And I'm sewing at about 1/4 of an inch. And whatever that is on your machine, actually on my presser foot, this little mark here is about 1/4 of an inch for me. Okay, I'm going to take that out. I'm going to go ahead, and that was one piece. Now I'm going to take a third piece, and I'm going to line that up. Okay, so now we've got to sew a third piece together. Okay, so now I've got a third piece sewn on there, and I'm going to go ahead and sew that. Again, it's good to go ahead and have that uptake lever up there, and go ahead and lower the needle into your fleece. And it just starts so much better when you do that. So I now have 3 pieces sewn together like that, and you'll repeat that with your other 3 pieces, and then you'll take your 3 pieces. So I've got 3 pieces sewn together here, 3 pieces here, and then I've pinned all of it together. So here you go, you've got one of your 3 pieces, the other 3 pieces, and I've pinned them all together. Then you're going to go ahead, and it takes a lot of pins to hold this together. You do want to kind of keep your seams open if you can, but if you don't, that's okay. So here we go. I'm going to go ahead and again, oops, make sure this is so my needle doesn't come unthreaded. So there we go. I'm going to start here, take out that pin, manually lower my needle. Now we've gone all the way around our hat, and it looks like this. Okay, and the last step that we need to do is that we need to take something. I have a 1/2 inch little gadget here. It's a sewing and knitting gauge, and I could go around and I need to tuck that up at a 1/2 inch. Okay, so I've gone ahead and pinned up my edge a 1/2 inch all of the way around. I did try to match up my seams. A lot of times it's best to go ahead and pin your seams first and then pin the middle. And now I'm going to tuck it up under here. Now that I've got this all done, and I'm going to just kind of line it up with the edge of my presser foot like that, and a little bit more. Now I am going to, on my machine, I am going to actually zigzag this. So make sure that your presser foot, if you're using one of the narrow ones, your needle will break if you're using a straight stitch. So this is a zigzag or all-purpose presser foot right here. So I'm going to go ahead and get started with my zigzag, and I'm just kind of going along the edge. So now I've gone all the way around my hat, and it looks like this. So there we go. We've got a little zigzag all the way around. Let's see, I think I've caught it all on the inside, so that's good. And the last step that you would do would be to take your flower pieces, and you can put it wherever you want on the hat. I think I'm not going to put it on a seam. I think I'll put it not on a seam. I don't think it matters. So I'm going to stack these all up like this. And then I'm going to take just going to take a couple of stitches. Now the other thing is, you could absolutely just hot glue this on. And I'm going to just go up through the center, take a couple of stitches just to kind of get that started. But then I do want to go ahead and take some stitches. I just wanted to kind of hold that circle on. Then I'm going to take some stitches, just all around. I want to make sure I'm going through all my layers, both of my layers of flower there, and just kind of doing it up where the circle's going to hide it later. But again, you could just hot glue this on, especially if you don't think you're going to wash it. I'm not sure that this felt would wash really well anyway, but just taking stitches all the way around. Doesn't take a whole lot of stitches to hold this on. And to finish up, I'm just going to take a couple more stitches right through the middle, and if you have thread to match, that would be great. I'm just using my white right now, so there we go. Doesn't really show that much anyway, so there you would have your flower on. I'm going to go back through here and just kind of go through it and knot it up. And there's my scissors. And very quickly done hat. I'm sure yours will look better than this, but I was trying to do it really fast, so this is what we end up with. Here's my one done a little bit more carefully, and we're all done. And thank you so much for joining us for sewing again, and thanks once again to our friends of the library for paying for all of our materials. We'll see you again next time.